change, this shift has been planned for many centuries. Even I talked about lockdown, COVID. I feel like that was the beginning of the shift.
Mhm.
And I do feel that we're shifting from a divine masculine. Masculine is all about control, politics, money, ego. And I feel like we're shifting to the age of the divine feminine. The feminine is all about the heart, our gifts, about creating communities.
Welcome back to the Power and Purpose podcast. I'm super excited for today's conversation. Nimesh, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this conversation for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And my signature question that I love to ask everyone is, who are you and who are you not?
It's a really interesting question. So, who am I? I mean, I can give you the textbook definition. I'm a spiritual mentor. I'm a coach. I'm an Akashic record reader. But who am I really? I'm a soul having a human experience. I am. I love what I get to do to guide people to be their authentic selves, to shine their light. I'm an expander. I definitely trigger people, and I've accepted that role in me, even though there's some resistance because I don't want to cause pain, but I feel like I'm meant to. And yeah, just I my focus really is to be present in the moment and to experience this moment.
Mm,
What um, I'm not here to fix people. I'm not here to force people to change. I'm here to guide people to be that voice. And because I feel like there's so much pressure on people right now, and people want fixing. I'm not here to fix people. You're here to have a human experience. I'm here to encourage you to have that human experience and hold your space as you do. But who am I to try and stop your pain? Because you're going to grow from that pain. Pain is
mm.
never, suffering is optional. So I'm not going to try and fix you. I'm not going to try and stop your pain. Maybe I'll try and stop your suffering if I feel like, but that's just intuitively I'll nudge you. But yeah,
Beautiful. I love that because in our world right now, we can get stuck in this mode of trying to fix others or having these expectations or and especially, personal development and spiritual growth has become popular, which I'm so happy about. I'm grateful for that. I'm so
yeah,
grateful. A lot of people are waking up and, a lot of them are striving towards being a better version of themselves, but in the mix of all of that, sometimes when one person is growing and expanding, they expect other people to do that. And then they try to get into that fixer mode or they try to save the day. Like
hundred
they
percent,
want to like save everyone. It's
hundred
just
percent.
like, no,
And
you
and
do you,
and
boo.
and yeah, but we've all been
And
there,
people
right?
will be
We've all been there.
inspired. People will be
Mm,
inspired by us being in our authentic selves, or if we want to
hundred
improve
percent.
something. And that will allow the person to come to their
Yeah,
own understanding of where they're at and where they want to go. So I love that
yeah,
you say that you're not a fixer. You're really here to just
yeah,
shine.
100%. Yeah, and if when we shine a light, as you say, we set an example and we're the bridge for other people to maybe see things differently, but not fix anybody, right? I'll always say my purpose is anyone I connect with, I want to leave them better than I found them. Whether that's one person. So if I connect with one person every day and have an impact, then I've lived my purpose. And I try and simplify life. I don't feel that the spiritual journey is that complicated. I feel like our mental mind complicates it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about and Nimesh has been a friend of mine. We've known each other digitally, if you will, for I don't know, 4 years now. We met on
4 years,
Clubhouse.
probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And
So
I've
many
had so many
lifetimes.
guests
That's
on
so
this
many
podcast
lifetimes.
from Clubhouse. So it's like my listeners, they know. They're like, "Oh yeah,
I love
Clubhouse,
it.
another
I love
Clubhouse."
it. I mean, Clubhouse changed our lives, right? It came
Oh
when we
my
needed it
gosh,
most.
it was our lives. Like
Yeah,
it was a way for us to still create. It was a way for us to connect. It was a way for us to like still keep life vibrant and going
yeah.
and
And
share
and
love
and
and
find our
kindness
voice.
and
Yeah,
find our
find our
voice
voice.
and lead. I became that's where my leadership side note, you guys, that's where my leadership journey started is I started, Nimesh probably remembers my cold shower club.
Oh yeah, I do. I forgot about it until just now. Wow, that's so true. I love it.
Yeah, yeah,
I just
yeah.
love it.
Amazing stuff. Where was I going with that? Oh, Nimesh has been a digital friend of mine for a couple of years, and so I want to ask you, what was your turning point? into the work that you do now. And you are an amazing Akashic Records reader, and just you have a lot of wisdom about spirituality, and you're probably a guide, just in general, like a spiritual guide in general. But what was your turning point? When did you really start to come along on this path?
Thank you for those kind words, by the way. But so I was in the corporate world and I was very mental. I was very determined to become CEO of the world, right? I was very kind of PMA, positive mental attitude, I can achieve anything. And um, I had a soul contract with somebody. She was a friend, but she thought I was being too successful. Did a bit of dark magic on me. I had no clue about this stuff at the time and led me to be made redundant. I was out of work for 2 years, but I was guided. And if another friend of mine said that she wants to go and see this religious lady, will I come with her? I was like, yeah, sure. I wasn't doing anything anyway. And when I went there, the lady looked at me and she's like, somebody's done something to you. And when she said that, I got an image of who it was, what they'd done. And I'd never experienced anything like that before. But the lady's like, I can't fix it, but I can send off to India to fix it. Okay.
Mm,
Eventually, long story short. Um, so we did that. They did a fire ceremony in India. They kind of sent me some ashes in a casket. And within 2 days of wearing that, I got an interview for a director level role. Within 5 days of that, I got offered the role. All that's fine. I entered back in the corporate world at that time, but that opened me up to spirituality. It made
mm.
me realize there's so much happening around me that it just opened. And for a while, I was looking for people to fix me. Give me a meditation, give me a course. All of a sudden, I'll be fixed. Over time, I realized I don't need to be fixed. Right, everything I need is inside me. All the love, all the joy, and it led me to start to work with my mentor, my friend Sidhu Jeffrey. We did events around the world: Hawaii, Mexico, India, Spain, UK. But she passed away in a fire in March 2020, just before I found Clubhouse, actually, interesting enough. And she's the one that quickly became a spiritual guide. And she's the one that pushed me to learn how to read the records, or read the Akashic records. That really is what kind of, for me, the records are a great way. They're like a doorway to the other realms. Kind of stronger connection to my guides, um, opening me up to so many of the different realms, so much beauty out there. And that's what changed my life. I started my podcast from that message. I've read for thousands of people now. I left the corporate world. I'm a spiritual mentor, coach. I guide people to truly shine their light. So thank you for that question.
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely. And for anyone who doesn't know what the Akashic records are, how can you define that for us?
So for me, the Akashic records are a record of everything your soul's been through. Current life, past life, future life, parallel life, everything about you is stored in the records. And I feel like all of us have touched the records in some kind of way, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through a channel message. Um, but when you build a deeper connection with the records, you start to get more insight into what your soul's been through, what karma you're carrying into this life, your soul contracts. For me, you get from the records what you need, not what you want. And it's that, what do you need in this moment that's going to give you an insight to help you on this life? It's not like you can open the records and get every single answer, because your soul having a human experience, so you've still got to experience life, but you get insights into why you are a certain way, what are you carrying into this life, what karma you need to release. And it's anyone the books are reading, they're giving me access to the guides, they're giving me access to the soul, and I feel so much love coming from your guides. So yeah, I just love the records. They changed my life, and I really do believe we all have the ability to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. So powerful. And Nimesh gave me a reading again, I don't know how long ago, 3, 4 years ago. And I think that was my first official one. I had probably had like little tap-ins and touch-ins again on Clubhouse, and
Sure.
or just friends of mine, and then I had done my own records a little bit as well. But I think you were the first person to give me like a full session, and also my
That's
willingness.
such a blessing. Thank you.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And my willingness, I was just at a time in my life where I was just like, you know, yeah, do you know that feeling where you just stop fighting? You're like, I
Yeah,
surrender.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Exactly.
I'm done. I'm getting off my
I'm done.
soapbox.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So and that attitude actually helped me because I came to that session, and that's probably, yes, you're an amazing reader and spiritual guide. And then also it's a collaboration always with this spiritual work. It's like the person has
Always.
to be ready to receive because the guide can't take the person where they're not ready to go. But anyway,
It's a
I just figured it
co-creation.
out. I was like,
Yeah.
whatever needs to come. You guys, I was crying out of relief. It was a good cry because of the information that was coming through. It touched me in so many different ways. It reminded, without me like really knowing, I think I was kind of reading in between the lines too, and just kind of like feeling the energy that was coming in. It just reminded me of who I was or who I
Yeah.
am. And still don't know who that is, but it's an energy that was very, very familiar that was coming in. And then also one thing that was really memorable of that session was to share my true story, because at that
I
time
love
of
it.
my life I was doing all the amazing work on Clubhouse and cold showers and cold therapy, and I think I was doing energy work. I'm not sure, I can't remember at that time. But I was also creating this. I didn't like the image that I was creating because it was like this perfect
Yeah.
light
It was a
worker.
facade. It wasn't you,
It was a
right?
facade. It was like this perfect light work, and I was like, okay, and I wasn't like manipulating anyone. I wasn't, I was. It's just there
Yeah.
was information that was missing, and so it's like, yes, I could be a powerful energy worker and light worker, but also just be real and raw and
Yeah.
share things at the appropriate
And
time.
people
And
feel
so
that, right? People feel
they
that when you're
feel it.
authentic.
And it was through that reading where I felt like my guides said, in so many words, they gave me permission. They were like, tell your story. And I was like, oh, really? Like I could do that, because I thought it was so forbidden. And on this podcast, my first couple episodes are me just sharing my story. And that came like years and years later. I think I started to share my story on other people's podcasts because that was most accessible at first, but that was such a relief. And it was a huge throat chakra block that just started to clear through action that year. So Nimesh,
So
thank you
beautiful.
for that. So, yeah, I'll never forget that
Oh, thank
session.
you.
Yeah.
You reminding me of that is just lifting my soul. I mean, it's really interesting when you read for somebody else. It's like the human's not there. So often I don't remember the conversation because I'm not meant to, right? It's a
Right.
sacred conversation,
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
you just reminded me of the impact it has, and it just thank you.
Yeah.
That
Thank
lifts my
you.
soul.
Thank
Thank you, thank
you.
you, thank you.
You were the bridge for that powerful conversation. So anyway, but we're actually going to talk about really important energies, you guys. So stick with us in this conversation. The Akashic records just happened to come through because I felt like we just needed to mention how powerful it could be if you feel called. And I've also had T and Seren on my podcast, and
Oh, nice.
yeah, and for anyone listening, if you want to go back and check out that podcast too, so that way you can kind of get like a really good understanding of what the Akashic records are, and what the possibilities are, that type of thing. So, I love your turning point story though. The fact that someone had put, black magic or a curse on you, and that was kind of like your introduction to, and it's kind of
It-
like, how
it's
can
like the
you
beginning of my
deny?
awakening, right?
Yeah, it's an awakening, and I think with most people, they kind of struggle to think that this stuff is real. But for you, my question to you is, did you doubt that that curse or that black magic was real, or did you just go with the flow?
Yeah. Right now, it feels like it was very quick. I'm sure at
Okay.
the time, if I hadn't seen the image in my head, it's kind of like shocking. If I hadn't seen the image and, I actually got it confirmed, I went to another reader and she confirmed the same thing, somebody I trusted.
Mm-hmm.
And there's too many signs to say it was real. Now, don't get me wrong. You ask me now, I know I have a soul contract with that friend. She was meant to do that. She was meant to awaken me. So I don't hold
Right.
any negativity towards her at all. She's not in my life, of course. Why would I have her in my life? But I don't hold any, there's no negative energy.
Sure.
I feel like I had a contract with her to open me up. Um, Now it feels like a quick process, but I knew at the time, I was like, do I really send off to India? Is this really true? The human in me struggled for a while.
Mm.
But at the same time, I knew that something wasn't right. I knew that, hold on, I had all this corporate experience. I knew I was good at what I was doing. And the fact that I wasn't getting anywhere and the fact that I was feeling lost, it's almost like I had no choice but to know it's the truth.
Yeah. Okay.
It feels similar. I mean, I've left the corporate world. It feels similar to that. It's like I got to a space where I couldn't stay in that world anymore. And this was such a similar feeling. It was like it's like the universe just slapping me around the face and giving me so much information that no matter how much the ego doubted it, I had no choice but to believe it. And
Yeah.
sometimes it has to be so shocking because it's like we build this. You talked about it yourself, right? You create this world of yourself, and then you believe it. It's not like you weren't doing anything. You were just being you, and it's just like
Right.
you create this image and you believe it. It's like, oh my god, I'm so successful. Anything I do, I put mind to, I can do it, and it's true to a certain extent. But you're also carrying karma, and you're carrying all this other energy, and it's just. I'm sure I went through a journey of lots of self doubt,
Hmm.
but the results were unbelievable. I mean, how could you even doubt it, right? I mean, to get an interview within 2 days, to get a role within 5 days of that, to then get this insight that it kind of awakens you up to all this information that's coming through and you didn't know how to deal with it. And it's like, then you go into this mode of fixing. Oh,
Mm,
there must be something wrong. Let me go and find somebody to fix me.
mm.
It's an interesting journey. I mean, for me, the spiritual awakening is like a lifetime thing, but there's certain things that we contracted at different times to really kind of awaken us and accelerate our
Yeah.
journey. And lockdown is another example. I feel like that was an opportunity for us. You know, lots of people went through pain at that time, but for me, that was Mother Nature sending us to the naughty corner and saying, "You guys saying you haven't got time, you either heal or you don't, and it's a choice."
Yeah.
And then we were lost, and we found Clubhouse, right? I mean,
Right.
I have to admit, I was looking for a space to share. I was looking for a space to. I kind of felt a bit lost, right? I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't
Right.
go out. I couldn't. Then all of a sudden, I found Clubhouse, a community where I found like-minded people. I could share my truth.
It
I could
was so easy to find like-minded
just,
people in there.
yeah,
It was like automatic. You just
yeah. I mean,
show
I,
up
I
and
miss it, to
title
be
a room.
honest. Yeah, yeah. Just
Yeah.
and there's so much choice, and there's like so much conscious conversation, and people wanted to hear you speak, and I was like,
Mm.
just crazy. This is what I mean. It's like there's certain times in our life that the universe comes along and just shakes us and accelerates our growth. And
Yeah.
this, I feel like now is the time for all of us where we're being truly pushed to expand in different ways. And it's a crazy time for sure, but
Yeah,
it's an
absolutely.
exciting time.
Yes, yes, that too, that too. And a lot of us who are conscious right now, it's like we're on a very divine mission. And I'm the type of person, I think everyone has a mission. If they have a soul,
100%.
I'm that type of person. But even more so, a more emphasized strategic from the soul, from from our other our oversoul, whatever you want to call it, a very
Sure.
strategic mission to be active in what's happening with all of the stuff. So let's get into our the meat and potatoes here, our main conversation. Just give us an introduction. Um, are we shifting from masculine energy into feminine energy collectively?
Yeah, so I feel this change, this shift has been planned for many centuries. Even I talked about lockdown, COVID. I feel like that was the beginning of the shift.
Hmm.
And I do feel that we're shifting from a divine masculine. Masculine is all about control, politics, money, ego. And I feel like we're shifting to the age of the divine feminine. The feminine is all about the heart, our gifts, about creating communities. So I feel like the period that we're in right now, there's going to be so many egos broken. There's going to be so many barriers broken down. I mean, it's already kind of started, right? With all the kind of the wars on the world, the politics. I feel like the next 2 years, the masculine in us is all going to get broken down and the feminine is going to rise. That's why so many of us are feeling uncomfortable because the masculine in us is in crisis and the feminine is kind of trying to figure out who it is. And, you mentioned that, some of us are meant to be the light workers, right? And I, I agree with you. I feel like every soul is just as important as every other soul. Everybody has a role to play. No one role is any more important than others, but I feel like the role that we're playing right now is the bridge.
Mm.
We are not
What
forcing
did you
anyone to
say?
change. Yeah, we're not forcing anyone to change, but our voice, our light helps people to understand that maybe they have a choice.
Mm.
And it's not right or wrong, right? Everybody has an individual choice. Do they choose to focus on the noise that as we shift, do you choose to focus on the noise that's happening on the planet? Do you let that consume you? Or do you focus on the internal healing and what's happening inside you, and listen to the voices like this conversation, and focus on your own internal healing? Or do you let the noise, because there is a lot of noise, right? There's going to be so much noise on the planet, so much shifting. And I'm not telling you not to keep an eye out on what's happening and to send love where's needed, but don't let it consume you.
Mm,
And
yeah.
there is a big shift, right? And asking
So
all
let
your
me recap.
listeners.
So we're shifting from masculine energy, which we can essentially, you guys, we're not like, this is not black or white. There are nuances, but we are essentially saying that the masculine energy is a little bit more ego based. And I'm going to add in a few words here too, probably a little bit more of that hustle culture. Oh, you did say like being all about money and
It's
power.
control. Yeah, it's control.
Control,
It's that.
right?
It's that ego.
Yeah, yeah. Trying to control everything, and also I think for self benefit too. Would you also say
Sure.
that?
Yeah. Yes, and that's what I'm saying. The shift to community, right?
Mm,
So it's the self benefit is masculine. There's no right or wrong, by the way. It's all balance, no judgment. But it's like the masculine is all about control. It is all about you know e- ego. How much money do I earn? How many cars do I have? How many? We've put so many people on a pedestal. I feel like you know a lot of those pedestals are going to come down. It's going to be more about the community.
yeah.
And there's going to be the rise. You see it already, right? There's going to be the rise of the community where all of a sudden we're going to find our own individual voices as a collective rather than just a few.
Yes.
But obviously, the masculine is going to fight to stay in control, right? The masculine is going to, and this is what we're finding right now. There's going to be so much energy and put into, because we as humans don't like change. Everyone talks about I love change, I love change. You only love change if you can see what's coming and you can control it. If you can't control it, it's scary. And
Hmm.
so we are in fight or flight, right? The
Hmm.
masculine in all of us. And I'm not talking about individuals. Everybody has masculine and feminine energy, right?
Yeah,
It's really
yeah,
about finding balance. And like I said, for me, this has been planned for centuries. It's, you look at the last few centuries, there's been so much control, the British Empire, all of that sort of stuff. And no right or wrong. It's all been about the wars. It's all been about, but now it's about really kind of finding your heart, shifting from I think to I feel. I mean,
hmm.
before the old paradigm was always don't make an emotional decision. Well,
Right. Or
it's just
control your
like,
emotions.
yeah, it's like, yeah, or don't cry. It's like the male
Yeah,
thing. You're not allowed to cry. You're not allowed to show, wait, we're a soul having a human experience and we're not supposed to cry? Really?
right.
And it's going to be such an interesting, but this is where for me the focus needs to be on self. It needs to, because it's interesting. I talk about community, right, and the importance of community, but we all have a unique role to play, and just focusing on your self care, having meditative practice. We talked about walking on the beach before. We, kind of whatever that lights your soul
Hmm.
allows you to be present during the shift. Your
Absolutely.
answers are going to come from inside, right? They're not going to come from outside.
Yeah, beautiful. And so, let's talk about what are the gifts from masculine energy as a collective. And even though we're shifting out of it, right?
Sure.
But we could still understand the gifts of it, so that way people can again find that synergy between masculine and feminine energy as we are shifting into the feminine energy. And then if you
Sure.
could highlight a few of the gifts of the feminine energy as well, that'd be awesome.
So the male energy is all about the ego, the power, kind of accumulating wealth, accumulating, number of followers and how many people, and all of that's needed, right? I mean, it's not like you need a voice and you need a platform to share your voice. I mean, how much money you earn, sure, what are you going to do with all the money? But it's all about, and it's all about the mental space. And we've needed the mental space, right? We've needed the mental space to create structure, to create technology. Um, without that, without the structure, without the governments, without the structure we have in politics, then would we really be able to survive? So there's energy, there's vibration there that's important.
Right.
But the shift to the feminine is all about shifting from the head to the heart. So the masculine and the masculine ego and everything about the head is all about what we already know, this experience in this lifetime, what we bring in. And this is where we're going to struggle because for so many of us, we've fought for all this knowledge. We've been to universities, we've done all these courses, and everything's in our head, right? We have all this knowledge. But when you shift to the feminine, it isn't about the head. It isn't about what knowledge you bring in. It's about what can you channel. This is what I'm saying. Our gifts are going to get expanded. We're going to start to feel things more than kind of understand them, and our mind is going to want to understand them. We start going to start to kind of feel a shift. We're going to feel things happening inside us, and it's going to confuse us.
Mm-hmm.
But the characteristics of the feminine is trusting our intuition, listening to our heart, kind of being able to have this sort of conversation, have a conversation where you're present.
Mm-hmm.
You're not thinking about how you're going to respond to the person or what you're going to make for dinner or doing the laundry, all that sort of stuff. It's about speaking from the heart. And speaking of truth isn't about getting angry. Speaking of truth is about speaking with love, but speaking, and this is what I feel like we're all going to be pushed to truly break down the barriers, our programming, which maybe says that, you know, our definition of who we are, we're an accountant, we're a healer, whatever those titles are. I feel like all of that stuff is going to break it down so we can truly be our authentic selves.
Mm-hmm.
And
Beautiful.
it's shifting from I think to I feel. What do you really feel about something?
Mm-hmm.
And you asked me, it's an interesting question. What are the other traits of the feminine? It's kind of our gifts are so individual and so unique, but I feel like we'll start to realize that we're the gifts. We can learn modalities, right? Akashic Records for me is a modality. It's great. I love it. Very protective over it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not who I am.
Right.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
modality. Who I am is my light.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I feel like we're all going to kind of connect with is who are we? We're all a collective. We're all connected, but our light individually is still needed. And
Yes.
and and we've all kind of been so focused on putting everybody else first and putting ourselves at the bottom of the list because that's how we program to be. It's like, oh my God, we can't put ourselves first. We've got to look after our parents, our kids, our friends, whoever. But I feel like we're going to be pushed to put ourselves first. And that doesn't mean that we ignore everybody else. That means we choose. We want to go out of our way for somebody, we choose to do it. But we put ourselves first and shine our light. And I feel like so many of us are being activated. All of a sudden we'll find our voices and all this control that the male ego and the masculine energy has given us for so long. We'll find some strength from inside us to start speak our truth, start to challenge the status quo. And again, I'm not talking about writing and all that. I'm talking about finding your voice
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and stand up for what feels right for you. And for me, it's exciting, but I get it's also scary because so much is going to happen to break down the barriers.
Yeah. Yeah. Some qualities that I love of the two energies is um with the feminine energy, receptivity.
So true.
Receptivity is actually powerful, and it took me time to really experience that there's power in being receptive and receiving someone's conversation and receiving their questions, receiving, and even if it's not a person, just receiving space. That's what meditation is. You're there, you're just receiving the
Yeah.
present moment as it is, listening to the sounds, listening to the birds. You're not fighting with the different sounds that are happening. You're just like there,
That's
right? And so that receptivity, there's a lot of internal power that a lot of us have dormant, or
yeah.
hidden. And some of us think that we aren't powerful or that we aren't purposeful or blank. You could fill in the blank, that we lack blank,
100%.
whatever it is. We lack
It's,
focus.
it,
We
it,
lack
it's our story,
compassion,
right? It's our
whatever it is.
story.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think part of the human condition is you know, you forgot that you had all this at some point, and now you come at some time in your life, you think you lack certain things, but when you sit in receptivity, you get to receive your own compassion, you get to receive how focused you are or how powerful you feel in that moment. So that's my favorite quality of the feminine energy. And then for the masculine energy right now, in this time in my life, I love strategy and structure, and
Yeah.
it allows my feminine, and even in my business, it allows the feminine energy to be receptive at times, because I know, like, okay, I already have the structure in place, this is my 2 hours of being receptive, you know, or like whatever it is. So those are my favorite
And,
qualities.
and you need both, right? You can't do one
Yes.
without the other. You need the structure. I mean, I'd love to be in the spiritual space all the time, just, but I know I'm a soul having a human experience. So I've got to kind of somehow get back in and have and put the structures in place that's needed. And I love how you say receptivity, because we have two ears. It's like even in a conversation, we have two ears, one mouth. That's the proportion we should lead. We should receive. And the other thing that came to mind when you said that is we're moving into a stage of community, which means we should ask for help.
Mm,
And the masculine is very much ego. I'm going to do this on my own. I don't need help. The phase we're moving into is it's a strength to ask for help. It's not a weakness.
mm-hmm.
You have certain qualities and certain strengths that the universe needs,
Yeah.
but you don't have everything. So sometimes asking for help is what you should do.
Yeah, and just to hone in on what you said, so Nimesh just said it's a strength to ask for help. And I see that as the awareness, for someone to have the awareness that they need to delegate, or that they need to ask for help, or that they need support, and then to even act on that awareness, that takes some, like, some
Some
presence, like
courage.
it
Yeah.
you know, it's, we weren't taught to do that, that's not the norm,
Yeah.
that's almost a little radical, you know. Most of us have to train ourselves or teach ourselves,
Yeah.
or we go through this remembrance process of how to be aware and conscious, so that we can change our trajectory, and then we have choices. So I love that.
It's our programming, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I just said earlier, we've got centuries of being masculine. So we've got centuries and centuries of programming which says that we shouldn't ask for help. We should just soldier on, and we should, be kind of fight for whatever we want, but just hold our emotions inside. Just
Mm.
that's so crazy to me now in this version of me. But growing up, sure, I didn't have a voice. I was one of nine. I was the one of the youngest. I had, four brothers, four sisters, and I didn't have a voice. So for me, for asking for anything was kind of like alien. It was like nobody was going to hear me anyway. But right now, I would see as a super. If somebody comes to me and asks me for help, I, for one, I see it as such a blessing,
Yes.
and it's a sign of strength from the other person. If I need help, I'm going to ask for it.
Yeah.
Healers need healing too, right? And it doesn't matter who you are.
Yes.
You sometimes you need to ask, and there's
Yeah.
power in it.
And you know, asking it is given, and that is is so true. There's been times in my life where it's like I didn't ask for something, but as soon as I did, it showed up, like, immediately. And I was like, dang,
And
I've
it's magical,
been
right? It's
struggling for it
magical.
took me 6 months to ask, and
Yeah.
then it just shows up in 24 hours once I ask. I'm like, oh my God, what is this is
And
how it
that's
works.
so powerful. That's really important.
Yeah.
Because I said we're receiving more information now than we've ever before,
Yeah.
and we all have guides, but unless we ask for what we need, how do they know what
And that's another thing.
is
Ask
ask?
for help, even from your own spirit guides, you guys. So
Yeah,
Nimesh and I are
100%.
talking about asking for help as a collective, because we're all coming into this community energy and seeing people for their strengths and collaborating instead of feeling so boggled down to do and hustle, hustle, hustle. That's how we get stuck in that old paradigm,
Yeah,
masculine energy. But as a second conversation that we're weaving in with this one is, even ask your spirit guides if you want them to intervene. Like, ask them, like, hey, please
yeah.
intervene, please help me with this, and then you will
Because we,
get
we assume
directed
they
to.
know. We assume they know. They don't know. They're not all of them have been human. Not all of
And
them.
isn't it, you might know better than me, isn't it like they don't want to interrupt our free will as well. So if we're struggling with
100%.
something, they're like, okay, I'm going to energetically support Vanessa, but I don't want to interrupt her free will. Do you feel like
100%.
your
They're
thought?
going to nudge.
Okay.
They're going to hold our space, and they're going
Hold our space. Yeah. Make
to,
sure we're safe. Like, do the bigger
yeah,
things. But like, if you
100%.
need something to go through, like, hey, I need this meeting to happen, or like, well, like whatever it is,
Yeah.
you put your request out there and let the universe handle the rest.
And
Absolutely.
and trust it's going to be delivered, because that's the other thing we do is we test our guides. We
Mhm.
ask for something, and it's like, I told you, didn't come through. I knew it wasn't going to. And it's like, it is a leap of faith.
Yeah. And
You
then
do
that
have to
brings up
ask and
some
let
other
go,
things.
right?
That brings up some other things. Sometimes we want stuff that we're not ready for, or it's not
Yeah.
the right time, or it's not the right environment or person. And, and it's protecting us by not getting
Yeah.
that thing at that time could be protection. So that's where trust comes in. I love that you said that, Nimesh. Like,
100%.
just
And
trust that
and
everything is working out for
yeah,
you as well.
yeah, exactly. And
And you ask and then
it,
you detach from the
yeah,
outcome.
because sometimes we want to bypass the human experience, right? Oh, you know what, guys, give me millions of dollars, but what if you're meant to learn how to earn, and you kind of go through some experiences that's going to help you grow? And it's like,
It's much
they're
more
not going to let
valuable
you.
to
Yeah,
learn the strategy, the systems, and learn how to receive and learn how to develop relationships and
yeah,
develop a business that will get you there. Like, that's the human experience that we came here for. We came to do the
yeah.
work.
And it's like, if you feel it when you're asking for something, does this feel right? What's my intention for asking for this? And your intention gives you so much information, because you if you're asking for your highest good, you'll feel it. And our guys have a sense of humor too, so sometimes they'll deliver things in funny ways, and we have to be open to magic coming in so many different ways. Who knows, right? Just But no, it's a partnership. Sometimes we put up
Yes.
our guides on a pedestal, and we expect them to know. No, it's not all of them being humans. It's a co-creation. It's a partnership. They need to
Right.
understand you just like you need to understand them. So, and have fun with it. Why is life so serious? I don't get
Yeah.
it. We're meant to have fun. This is an experience, right?
Yeah. Oh my God. When you said that, so literally during one of my meditations, I was speaking with a spirit guide, and they showed me that spirit guide, that him, I'm gonna call him him, but it's not a person obviously, in my eye, and then he just started doing like all these funky dances, like, and I literally started to laugh, but that was like what I needed the
100%.
he was trying to tell me that the playfulness, the laughter, the enjoyment was missing. So I love that you just said have fun with it. And then we're coming to the end here, but I have a couple more questions to squeeze in about this
Sure.
shift, from the I call it the old paradigm into the new paradigm. That's what my listeners know it as. Like, we're coming into this new paradigm of business, of everything, of healthcare.
Sure.
There's a new
And
paradigm
so,
of
some people call it ascension.
politics.
Third,
Everything.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so as we're going through the shift, we talked a little bit about the challenges, but if we can like really spell these challenges out, and maybe just two to start, like what are some of the challenges that we're seeing very specifically?
Um, so the challenge that we're going to face internally is identity.
Mm,
We've built this identity of who we think we are. You talked about a little bit, and that person who we think we are it doesn't exist anymore. We've gone through a rebirth, we've gone through a reset, and the challenge is to let go of that old person, to celebrate him or her, mourn him or her, but embrace this new version of you.
mm,
And that's going to be hard. And the second thing is, we talked about already, asking for support.
mm,
This is a community-based shift. And it's like, we're going through this sort of shift, everybody kind of feels like nobody understands. No one else is going through the shift. Everyone's kind of in their own little bubble and don't want to talk about it, because, wait, if we talk about it, then that's going to look weak. Talk about how you feel. That's part of the transition. Share how you feel, ask for help. So those are two things I would recommend: is let go of the old version of you, do new things, do things that excite you. Really challenge yourself on, are the people in your life still serving you? Are the soul contracts for them complete? Allow this new version of you to be born, and truly embrace him or her. And the second thing is, know that you don't have to do it on your own.
mm. Powerful.
Because
Powerful.
we don't like asking for help. It's a sign of weakness. Our programming
Right.
says if we ask for help,
But
but it's
to
a
our
sign of
point,
strength.
to our point, it's like you can't receive what you don't ask for. And receptivity is
100%.
that feminine quality that men and women, everyone has it. And you can, there's a time and space for everything. So learn, teach yourself, train yourself. Try not to get like in that mindset of, oh, I've never been able to receive, I've never been able to meditate. Try, let all
Yeah.
that go. Just
Because
start
if you never,
train yourself,
definitive
teach
insanity is
yourself,
that
find the
doing something different.
resources.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely. I love those two powerful things. And then do you have a book recommendation that you love to share that might help someone on their spiritual journey?
Wow. So many books. Wow. So many. I mean, it's really interesting. Depends where you are. Another conversation I was having earlier was around a book by Viktor Frankl,
Mm,
Man's Search for Meaning. Super powerful.
I've been meaning to read that. And the fact that you just said that, I think it's time.
And the reason that book came up is it's a great book to realize that you're giving your power away and
Ah,
to stand in your power.
beautiful.
And there's so many other spiritual books. I mean, that have had impact, but yeah, that one came to mind first. So yeah, that's the one I'd recommend.
Amazing. Thank
The
you.
other
Thank
thing
you.
I'd recommend is just there's so many intuitive books, and actually the third thing I should have mentioned earlier is listen to your intuition. That's going
Yeah.
to
Oh,
really help you during this phase.
yes.
Trust your intuition. Know that everything is, it's like, stop, try and restrict the use of Google. And how do you feel about something before you actually, and trust your intuition because your guides are talking to you through your intuition.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. Thank you. And Nimesh has a podcast as well. I'll be on there. And so, Nimesh, tell us the name of your podcast, and then how can people find you? All your links will be in the show
Sure.
notes. But yeah, let us know.
Sure. The podcast is called Spiritual Journey, Path to Awakening. Like I said, that was inspired when through the Akashic Records when they gave me the message that my voice is my gift. I named it after my mentor. It has her initials, Sidra Jeffrey, Spiritual Journey. I really feel like it's guided. Has over 200 episodes. My purpose is really to guide people on their spiritual journey to simplify spirituality. I love it. Um, so yeah, you can find it on all platforms. And yeah, we can include my links. I mean, my website is called spiritualjourney.life.
Perfect.
Um, you can follow me on Insta. I will try and post whatever information is coming through. And thank you for this opportunity. I loved our conversation. I'm sure we could carry on for hours. So I'm
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
forward
it's
to
been
you
so
being a
fun.
guest on and carrying on this conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Nimesh. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Namaste.
Sunny love and light.